Hello friends, welcome back. It's me. Do you want to hear some scary stories? Well, if so, then tonight is your night, because I am going to tell you 5 scary stories that you should never read alone in the dark. So turn off all of the lights, get under your blankets and listen very carefully to every word that I say, but don't blame me when you can't sleep tonight. The first story is called The Sin Eater. Long ago in England, there was a terrifying custom practiced by some families when one of them had committed a sin. That's because it has been known to drive people insane. This next story might sound familiar to you, because it has inspired several horror movies, but here is the original story. And if you want to hear more scary stories, then check out the playlist that I have linked in the description. I've been counting down the scariest ones that you should never read alone in the dark. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, then what are you waiting for? Subscribe for more. In the 1970s, a group of teenagers were hanging out at a party. Suddenly, someone suggested that they go into the bathroom and turn off all of the lights. And while they were standing there in the pitch-black darkness, they began to call out to Mary. At first, nothing happened, but then they heard footsteps coming towards them. Then, out of the corner of their eye, they saw a figure standing in the doorway. It was tall and thin, and it seemed to be completely made out of darkness. They turned the light back on and the figure was gone. They tried calling out to Mary again, but there was no response. And then suddenly, one of the girls in the bathroom noticed that she was covered in blood from head to toe. She screamed, but there was no one there. She looked in the mirror and realized that she wasn't bleeding at all. The blood was painted onto her skin. Then she looked behind her and saw the dark figure standing in the bathroom, and that's when the bathroom filled with blood. And then everything went black. If you ever find yourself in a bathroom and you turn off all of the lights, then don't call out to Mary. Or else, many years ago, a girl named Maria heard a knock on her window. She opened it and saw a ghost standing outside asking for help. He said that he needed to borrow a rope because he wanted to hang himself. Terrified, she slammed the window shut and locked it. But then the ghost began to climb up her wall, and she watched in horror as he made his way closer and closer to her room. She screamed for help, but no one came to save her. Then finally, the ghost reached her room and she saw him take his own life through her window. If you hear a knock on your window late at night, then don't open it. It could be the ghost looking for a way to end his life. They would take the person who had sinned, tie them up, lay them down on a table, cover them with bread, dough, and then leave them there to die. The dough would eventually become hard like a stone, and they would bury the person alive inside of it. It was believed that this process would trap the soul of the person inside of their body and force them to stay on earth as a zombie. They would rise from their graves at night and devour the living. Now, if you think that sounds crazy, then just wait until you hear the next story. It's called Haunted Dolls. This story comes from a real-life account from a caretaker of an old woman. She said that she used to work for an old woman who had many antique dolls that looked very creepy. One day, the old woman went into town and told her caretaker to look after the house. When the caretaker was walking through the house, she noticed a doll sitting on a chair facing away from her. She didn't think anything of it, so she continued on about her business. However, when the old woman came home, she began to scream at the caretaker because she had moved a doll. You see, the old woman had a special connection to that doll because it was possessed by her dead son. Whenever the doll was moved or disturbed, the spirit inside of it would become angry. The caretaker quit immediately after that. This next story is called Murder at My School. A long time ago, there was a school that was built on top of an old Native American burial ground. At first, nothing seemed to happen, but then the ghosts of the dead people began to rise up and haunt the school. One day, a teacher was writing on the blackboard, when suddenly it began to shake violently. Then, right before his eyes, the chalk began to move across the board by itself and spell out a message. The teacher was so scared that he ran out of the classroom. Then a few days later, he returned to the classroom with a gun to protect himself. And this time, the ghost wrote another message. It said, "Leave this school, or else." And sure enough, the next day, the teacher came back to the school and he was found dead in his classroom. No one knows what happened to him, but it's believed that the angry spirits of the Native Americans took their revenge on him. Next, we have the story called Suicide. If you are watching this video late at night, then you should probably skip this next story. And now for the final story, which is called Bloody Mary. So do you believe in ghosts? Let me know by leaving a comment below.